Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the KISS Australia East eCrit Series, race number 12 in the series today. I am joined by Mr. Wesley Sulzberger himself. Let's go ahead and welcome him to the broadcast, coming straight out of Australia. Am I correct about that, Wes? Yeah, coming out of Australia. How's it going there, Wes?
Yeah, right down here in
I wasn't
Tassie.
getting the Kiwi wrong or not there out of the land down under. But as things are heating up, welcome to the broadcast, Wes. Really nice to have you here, and it's nice to sit in for Jesper for a moment while he's over in France, I believe, having a good time on the bike.
So just getting amongst it, getting a bit of time on the bike. He's been training pretty hard, so hopefully he's well prepared.
Yeah, you were getting him ready. It sounds like for some riding over there.
Yeah, he said I've got 30 days. Help me, coach. So I got him going as best I could. He was throwing kettlebell classes there. If you follow his YouTube channel, he was doing a daily vlog, keeping himself accountable. When Nocturne was on, he did a little bit of a swaying in the wind there and didn't quite get his sessions in because he was working so hard. But overall, he's done pretty well. He's been pretty consistent.
Right on. Yeah, so it looks like the racing's about to get underway here. You guys have been doing an awesome job. 11 races down. Here is number 12, and it looks like we're about to get going in about a minute 52 or so here. 94 racers lined up at the start line right now. And before they do get going, let's talk a little bit about what's been happening with the two series right now. Now, there is the East eCrit Series as well as the West eCrit Series. If you're unfamiliar with what this Australia eCrit Series is, 5 from each series are going to go to a live final in Australia that they will qualify for, and there's a point system currently over at zwiftpower.com that is being put together and organized by KISS and Zwift together. And currently we do have Aaron Dunn sitting in first place in this East Series at 186 points. Anthony Vegan Porsche there as well, sitting in second place at 125 points. We also have Troy Horfoss sitting in third, 87. Ben Hill fourth, and Glenn Elton in fifth at 78 points. You know, there's a serious battle there, though, it looks like, Wes, for that 5th and 4th place. I mean, between 10th and 5th or even 4th place, it's only like a 15-point difference.
Yeah, it's very close there, and all these riders have been very consistent and moving. Those people that have moved up the points, like Ben Hill's come on the scene pretty late, and he's picked up a win straight off the back and has placed up there in the rest of the race. Well, so he's one to watch out for to creep up the points a little bit more and maybe nudge into that top 3. And then you've got Nazi, who's always consistent. Luke Ockerby had a win there as well. And then back further from that, we are close on the points. Tim Storr is on 65, and they're all around that 65 mark there, from like 9th down to 13th place there with John O'Brien, and then Fidel and Hassan also is a fast sprinter. So it is all close there, Nathan, and it's going to be interesting to see whether some of these rock up, and if they get that win, they certainly will creep up the points.
Yeah, it is a big point difference from all the way from 20th all the way to 1st. It is a point for each place, if I'm not incorrect there. So as they do get going here with the usual Zwift style, it looks like here in the races, we do see right away up into those orange numbers here, it looks like T. Berwick, a lot of Australian flags, as you can see here in this Australia eCrit Series. It looks like Nagy making his way to the front, though, not a part of the Australian points, though. And if I'm not incorrect, as far as the rules go, Wes, it is only points are going to be awarded to those that are from the area. If I'm not incorrect, it's going to be Australia as well as New Zealand.
Right. No, as far as I know, New Zealand isn't included in it. Yeah, okay. So we actually had I think one of the races placed second in that was Finland, but I think as far as I know from what Jasper was telling me, that it is only the Australian races. So gotcha. They're eligible to get in amongst the race and create a bit of action, but not.
not able to actually grab any points from it though, so and not be involved in that. But they can get in the action. They can win the races outright for the day for sure. And we do see up toward the front. And these now, all the courses that are being used in this eCrit series though, Wes, they're mainly, it seems like, going to be flat courses that they are using. That is why mainly just the crit courses. So it is a focus in on the courses that tend to a lot of tactical racing out on Zwift. And I know that you've done a lot of racing out on Zwift, Wes. What do you think about the courses that are being used, and what are the differences that come into play out on this course versus maybe like a hilly Watopia or, you know, a Box Hill type race? What really comes into play and going into these racers' minds as they start a race like this?
Yeah, well, this one with today, just around the London course, it is quite a fast course. Prior to that, we had around the Volcano course, which is quite a nice little finish there for those guys that are a little bit punchier, you know, and that can really take that advantage, that power to weight ratio. So we're seeing the fast sprinters not quite getting up there in that Volcano circuit, but here on this fast finish sort of thing, we've got guys like Dunn, who suits him down the ground. Also, you know, last week we had it for a couple of weeks training, and he hit out at 550 meters from the line and held on for the win. So this course is very far, and there was some aggressive racing in there, and we always see Anthony Big and Porsche up there trying to have a go on a little bit of an incline through this course, but it is a really tough one. Try and get away on it, hold away. You really have those companions with you that were going to commit and carry on, and that's when it comes back to who's on the points, who benefits out of being in that break. A little bit of it can be a little bit negative at sometimes if they don't want that break to go, but at the same time, you know, these races will give it a crack, even if the course doesn't suit them.
Yeah, so I think there is something to be said there, definitely, about what you were saying about the whole idea of whether or not it's worth it to make those moves happen, and whether or not your teammates even might be successful in a race like this because of those moves being made. I am looking at the results right now from the East Series, and I am seeing WP Taz led out by Aaron Dunn, and maybe since he does have things kind of wrapped up at this point, well, not completely wrapped up, but I mean 186 points, he's kind of out of reach as long as he kind of shows up, grabs some top 20s here and there, maybe top 10s. And then we look through, though, and we do see Ackerby as well as Nadsy in there, though, as well, both sitting at 72 points, just outside, though, of that 5th place. And so maybe WP Taz is going to be playing some tactical moves out there. And some of the riders who are showing up that are not in the contention here, though, but are riding for those teams, have you actually heard any chatter? And these are people that you know in real life, I believe, a lot of these people, Wes, I would assume. I think some, especially the WP Taz boys, I mean, I think you know a lot of these guys. And is there some chatter in the background going on about, well, how are we going to get these guys in those top spots?
Yeah, I do know a lot of these guys, Nathan, not just from the Wolfpack Taz guys. Obviously, they're local here in London. And from down the other end of the state, down Hobart. So yeah, also, you know, Ben Hill, I've raced with Ben Hill a lot. Pat Shaw, I've raced against Pat in the National Road Series here in Australia. You know, going back into, you know, the 2005s and 6. So yeah, a while ago now. And some of these other young up and coming, like Sean Whitfield, I've raced against him in a couple of the E Series races on the Zwift races. So yeah, it's cool to know that some of these guys personally off you know, not just in the virtual world as well. But saying that, it has been really cool following some of these guys that I don't know, especially in the Western E Series, guys like Jono Bates, who's really been inspired by the name call out to really push on in this and have a crack.
Right on, yeah, for sure. And that's definitely what this is all about. Cycling made social, as well as highlighting the racers and the riders that are coming out and jumping into these efforts out on Zwift. That's what these broadcasts are definitely all about, and encouraging them on. You know, betting each other through the power of bicycles, through the power of the platform, is definitely something we'd love to highlight here. And those are kind of those success stories of the platform too, right? That somebody that might not have been as involved in racing, not as involved in just bettering themselves through cycling and getting in better shape, and they have this motivation then to show up and be the all-stars for the day as well. We do see Kim Little here on the front, and this is actually something I was not expecting early on in this crit, actually, with 4 off the front. And some super strong guys. And we were just speaking about Nadsy, actually, just a couple of minutes ago from WP Taz. He's currently sitting in that 8th place with that 72 points. And he could quickly, if he jumps into a top 5 here, that's 15 to 20 points. And he's immediately into that top 5 contention, actually. So this is going to be something that he might want to continue on with. I mean, he's got a guy like Kim Little up there with him, who we saw actually TT away earlier last week. I think it was on a Thursday in the KISS EU race, I believe it was, or maybe the Friday Criterium. No, KISS EU race. He TT'd away from the rest of the pack, actually, with a lap and a half to go with a solid 40 seconds at the end. So this is a guy who can ride off the front. I think we do see some concern there then coming from Shaw, who won the race last week, actually. And he sees that this is a definite threat, and he's actually not trying to pull the rest of the group up, I do not believe. At 8 watts per kilogram, this is a full-on sprint away from the rest of the group to try and keep them from holding the wheel and continue on with this effort away from that group and not let anybody sit in that draft. And now we are seeing it is G. Watson here as well, up in that 7 watts per kilogram with an aero power-up to try and get back onto the back end of this group. Now, real quick, as far as the rules go, it is regular KISS racing, everybody. Regular KISS races rules do apply here. So I'm just going to read through them very quickly so everybody knows exactly what the rules are so that they understand why power-ups are being used and all that kind of stuff. So the KISS Australia eCrit Series takes place every Tuesday from April 18th through the 12th of September. Australian riders will score points in each race. On September 19th, the top riders will be invited to a live e-racing final to be predetermined place, Australian location, to determine who will be crowned the 2017 eCrit champion. So points are awarded from first for 20 points all the way down to 20th for 1 point. Points will count towards the KISS Australia eCrit Series, which you can find at Zwift Power as well. All the standings will be found under leagues, and if you just scroll over leagues up at the top of the website at zwiftpower.com, you can see the 2 leagues are the first 2 things underneath that tab. Power-ups are allowed at all times in this race. All bikes are allowed, just like any of the races out on Zwift for KISS races. Some races do take out the other bikes, which is the TT bike is really the only other bike that matters that they're talking about there. Some of them do take out the power-ups as well so that you cannot use those. So every time they're going through this start-finish banner or this sprint banner, which is actually just a finish banner, the start was way back over at the corral, but the riders are able to pick up these power-ups that they can use during the game that either reduce their weight, reduce their drag, other kinds of things like that. And we actually have seen some crazy save-ups, Wes, I think, in the past with like them just being blown like crazy out on course for the power-ups. I think they do affect the races a lot, Wes, it seems like, from some of the past highlights I've seen.
Yeah, definitely. And we saw that in the Volcano course the other week back. It was just crazy in our power-ups. I've never seen so many in one area at one time. It was just lit up like the guys in that final drag to the line. Everyone is able to look like everyone had an aero power-up, obviously the strongest power-up. And everyone looked like must have saved that from a couple of laps out and been happy with that selection of what they'd got with that power-up and saved it right for that end there. But yeah, it was a pretty cool shot. And I think Jasper shared a couple of photos that got sent in by Twitter, also on the Facebook Oz page for Zwift.
Yeah, if you guys would like to show in your pictures or interact with the broadcast right now anyway, like Wes was saying, you can do so by tweeting at ZCommunityLive, at ZCommunityLive. Actually, we do have a tweet here from Wes himself for an example of exactly what you can do. If you want to interact in the broadcast, then tweet at ZCommunityLive for any questions or Racers Live feedback, as well as pictures of your setup. If you are racing right now, maybe you got to hand your phone off to your significant and say, quick, take a photo of what I look like right now hammering away on this, or go ahead and post those after the race over at the Zwift Oz Facebook, or tweet them at us as well at Twitter, and we'll bring them into future broadcasts that we will be having. Later tonight we'll have the KISS EU edition and a few other races throughout the week as usual. Now, it does look like we do have things back together. All Grupo Compacto was, I think that initial move, although it was Valiant, you know, it broke things apart a little bit. Those who weren't going to be hanging on, I think, for the duration of the entire race, but it doesn't look like it's really caused any damage for the big hitters unless we are seeing anybody who has fallen off the back. I'm going to check out ZwiftPower.com for the live results in just a second here to see if anybody has fallen off that is kind of a favorite, but I think that was more of just a calling of those who were not going to be involved in the race proper maybe today for the top 20 points.
And we see Gentleman Jim that you're hovering over there now. So Gentleman Jim, I gave a shout out to Gentleman Jim last week to get him up there and give him a bit of a spur on up there to try and make an attack and go on with that attack. He got right up the front there and the pace was pretty high, so he didn't quite get the attack down pat, but I'm sure he'll have a crack again this week. Also, Jay Dutton had a good attack last week, so it'd be good to see him go up there on that climb again and make sure that he uses that power to weight. He's got a fair bit of the climbs, and we did see him use that in one of the volcano courses. I think he maybe used it wasn't an aero power up, he had a drafting power. I think he's got that sorted now and knows which power up to use at the point into the race. But yeah, it's good to see that we are getting some other names coming through that are picking up these points, that are down in that top 10 and that can sneak easily up into that top 10. You know, if you're sitting 13th, they're still on that 65 points. So there is time to pick up those points. And like I was saying earlier, if you're finishing up in that top sort of 5 position, in that top 10, you would certainly pick up 15 points or more there. So you can certainly jump back up in the mix.
Yeah, and definitely, I mean, if there's somebody who's a strong rider who can get those 15 to 20 points, I mean, we're racing all the way through September. There's a lot of races left to go, a lot of weeks left to go. And looking at this, with only the cutoff right now being right around 78 points, if some people start not showing up, there is still a chance to grab those. So make sure to jump on in. Also, the West Series is something that is going on immediately after this race. I will not be able to cover that. Nathan does have to sleep sometimes, once in a while. But we will be having Jesper back next week to be covering the West Series races as well. But in the West right now, we do have Ben Simpson right along with Richard Cook, Richard Giles, Mikey H, and Rupert Walsh there sitting in the top 5. It looks like they have been jumping into a lot of races. Ben Simpson with 10 races, Richard Cook with 8. Giles there with 8. Looks at Mikey H there with 7. That's a much closer race in those 100 points, though, as well, it looks like, in the West Series right now. For the race today, you were talking about Dutton, I believe, a little bit there, and that is an interesting story. 5 races out on Zwift. It looks like this has actually been an inspiration for Dutton, this rider that we are looking at right now, sitting at 163 beats per minute, 4.4 watts per kilogram out of Australia. And we are seeing he took a 9th in the Kiss Down Under on the 29th. That would be last week, actually, one that I actually was broadcasting. And then he also took a 10th in the East, so grabbed himself 10 points in the series here. And then it looks like he took a 21st just outside of the points, actually, in the race on the 20th. But he's bettering himself, and I think he actually is learning, like you said, Wes, to get better and better results in the world of Zwift. And it is a little bit of a learning curve, isn't it, Wes, in order to kind of learn the tactics that come along in Zwift and how you, how you race Zwift. I mean, it's its own way of riding and racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, you've got to work out, there is a team factor in this. So we do have some guys in there with teammates as well. So you've got to play that into account of why sometimes the brake isn't working. You know, if someone's not in it, the right sort of mix isn't in there. But Jay Dutton he's been really quite active and his presence in this series. So he actually tweeted out a couple of his teammates earlier, trying to get them involved. And they said they didn't quite have the shaved legs and weren't aero enough for it. So Jay was sort of taking a bit of the piss there and saying that you don't need to shave your legs. You can just jump on the trainer and no one's going to see you unless you're tweeting in to the community live.
So more of a mountain biker's world or something. I'm not sure. I mean, what's he getting at there as far as the no shave legs go? We'll have to see how many people. Let's get a ratio going out at Z Community Live. Shave legs or no shave legs for Zwifting? Where's it at? I have a feeling people are going to be shaving the legs anyways, especially for those who are going to be using the Instagram. Says, I think in the past I've said the shaved legs is mainly the vanity, and then it's the results afterwards. But looking here at this tweet coming from Wild Deep. He's currently racing, but I'm not sure if he's racing upside down here. We are seeing this is way harder than the down under race. He's got an interesting down under setup there. It looks like there. Hashtag Kiss at Z Community Live. 292 watts, 86 RPMs, and 139 heart rate, but upside down. So we got to get you right side up. It might be a little bit easier if you weren't riding like a bat. But great job there. It looks like here, Kim from the Wild Deep there. Solid pick coming at us at Z Community Live. So but I'm not exactly sure from that pick where he's sitting. I think he's in maybe the second chase group out there out on course. It does look like we are 8.4 miles in. Sorry, we are in the Imperial language right now for the race. But we do have an attack here, it looks like, here with 4 seconds. Not sure it's going to stick, but I saw Way Sports here with P. Shaw, who was the winner last week, does have 4 seconds over the rest of the group. It is still a large group. They're with the chase and with about 4 to 5 watts per kilogram on the front end of that group. Does look like it's settling down though to 3.8. Is there a little bit of control going on here from some of the racers allowing Shaw to get away? I wonder if there's any handshakes that are within the group here and whether or not anyone maybe sees that as a threat. We do see the WP Taz boys seeing them working their way to the front here. We do have, it looks like, Alif. Can you help me out there, Wes, with that name?
Yeah, Tom Alif. So Tom's from Hobart. Yeah, Tom Alif. He's from Hobart, so from the end of the state. And I've just brought him on for coaching, actually. So I've got him involved in the series. So I wrote that into his program straight up. He was pretty keen to get involved. He's already a Zwifter. So, yeah, it's cool to see him up there and amongst it at the pointy end.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. And it looks like he is trying to get back on terms with the front end of the race. He's making a little bit of a move there. I left Tommy Boy here now 2 seconds up, and this looks like it might be a crucial moment for the rest of the group now, actually. Nadsy now making his way to the front as well, 5.9. Now backing off a little bit, maybe going to hold off a second and then kick one more time, or maybe just allow the Vision Cycling boy there, Anthony Porsche, to make the pull back up. Knowing that he's a lighter rider, there is a little bit of a draft on the uphills. It's not as pronounced as the flats, but with only 2 seconds, I'm not sure it's going to go anywhere for these front boys. They're going to get back on terms, I would assume. We are seeing 7.9 watts per kilogram up toward the front there with Kim Little, 7.6 actually. Not somebody who can be involved in the series, but definitely making some fireworks go off, and there's going to be some Australians trying to follow that wheel to try and get as much of an advantage as they possibly can with the rest of the riders here. We are seeing, it looks like Shaw off by 1 second, dragging the rest of that group right back up. Let's work our way back to the back of this pack, though, and see if there's anybody getting that elastic snapping off, unable to hang on to the pace that was set on that uphill. 34 miles per hour currently right around that 50K or so. Definitely a super fast group. It is starting to get that stringing out, though. There are riders just trying to hold on to the pace up to the front. We are seeing orange numbers being thrown down by Ockerby here now, 7.7 watts per kilogram, right along with Gentleman Jim, who's been getting some shout outs here, it looks like, with Anthony Porsche right on his wheel. But we know everyone's suffering right now because of that straight line here. We know nobody is letting off the pedals as no one's able to coast right on by. Definitely a high pace here, 5-6 watts per kilogram. About how long do you think they can hold this kind of a pace here, Wes? I mean, 5, 6, 7, that's at max maybe a 1 to 2 minute effort out there on course, unless you are TTing off the front.
Yeah, that lactic's got to be starting to build up now and start to seep out the eyeballs a little bit and start to get that eye twitch going. So I reckon that the pace will have to settle back down, and whether that gap's created when that settles back down, that's going to be interesting to see whether that group sort of settles in here or whether they start to continue on with it, extend that lactic out longer, push their limits, and it'll be interesting to see who pops out of that group then. Also, Sean Whitfield is up there, who I called out a little bit earlier and raced against Sean. He's quite a strong rider. He's touring up here in the series. I think he was run a 4th place, just out of that top 3. So he'll be looking to try and get up there. He's quite a fast finisher as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing this. It looks like Sean, let me just double check here real quickly. I'm going to see where he's sitting in these results. You were saying that he might be in some of the top spots. I did lose the eCrit for a second here, so I'm just going to double check here real quick. Sean See if he's able to grab enough points to be in the top. I'm not seeing him in the top 25 right now for the series. I don't think, unless I'm missing him here. But it looks like definitely able to follow the riders here. Sean Whitfield. So you used to race against this rider, is that right, Wes?
Yes, I've raced in the NRS, the National Road Series, against Sean. So some of the Zwift races, the KISS races, I've raced against Sean. I had to use a bit of tactics with some of my Wolfpack teammates, with Nadsy and my brother, to make sure that Sean, I don't think we would have got him without the tactics and teammates, because he was riding really strong.
Gotcha. So it looks like this is definitely a rider to be watching out for here, trying to grab a few of those points with a lot of racing left to go, and might be one that we do see at the end of the series at the live event. We still have a large group here. According to ZwiftPower.com, I think it's well over 20 racers still in this front pack. I'm just going to double check real quick as they do go through this next section of the course here. They're about, it looks like, 11 miles in. The total today for the race is going to be 44 kilometers or so, 7 laps out on course, and I do not have the math done on that right now, but looking through here, it does look like we've got 17.33 laps in total right now with about 4 to go. Up toward the front, we are seeing Sean Whitfield here. I'm going to open up his past history. It looks like he's got 11 races out on Zwift. Again, you know, this is really cool to see, Wes. We've seen a lot of Australians just jumping onto Zwift recently with only 11 races out there, getting some experience out here and really enjoying the competition, it looks like. 357 watt estimated FTP coming over from Strava. It looks like he did take a 7th in the eCrit as well as a 4th actually in the eCrit. So actually I think the thing is that there's only 10 races updated in the league right now, and that's why we're not seeing those points updated just yet over to the site. So you were right, Wes. Yeah. He took a 4th and a 7th, second. He's actually got a lot of points in the series right now, and definitely one to watch out for taking some of those top spots. Maybe going to better those results with perhaps a 3rd, 2nd, or 1st. He'd have to get a better on that, and he's actually maxing out, it looks like, at about a 191 for a max heart rate out there for Sean Whitfield. So watch out for him today, it looks like. And it looks like in this lead group then it is going to still be a lot of riders. Actually, we're looking at over 24 riders still in this lead group. So there's going to be 4 riders at this point, it looks like, not getting points today. So they got to drop a few more off before it is everybody awarded points today in the eCrit Australian KISS series today. So up to the front, Nadsy here, 6.4 watts per kilogram. Go ahead,
go straight out of the gun here. Nadsy followed here by the looks of it too. So some action going on here. And it's at that, it looked like, who's that, Pat Shaw and Dutton up there also?
Yeah, it looks like Shaw now making a little bit of a move up into that 6.1 watts per kilogram or so, and then Dutton there as well. And it does look like they are continuing to make some attacks, pushing the pace over and over again. Jones is here trying to hang on, and it looks like things are getting shut down. I wonder if there's anybody in the pack. What I'm wondering about is who has put out the energy so far to cause these attacks, who's been sitting in and is actually suffering, and who's just been playing it smart so far. You know, there might be those who say, well, that attack's going to come back, that attack's going to come back. They're rolling the dice, thinking, you know, I trust that this group is strong enough that it's not going to go anywhere. And then there's those that are rolling the dice and saying, I'm going to throw my cards on the table. Here's an ace, over and over again, trying to make that group go. And in the long run, if those who rolled the dice that got the effort left in their legs that didn't go with those attacks might be the ones to be watching out for here. I'm going to head on over here at ZwiftPower.com. We are seeing sitting in M. Elias, 3.9 watts per kilogram so far is all he's put out. Shaw, he's at 5.2 so far. He's put out huge amounts of effort so far into this race to cause some of this separation. And yeah, he's willing it down for the points, but at what kind of sacrifice for later in the race right now? Again, Dutton, as you said, another one who's been on the attack, 5.0 so far. We are seeing 4.9 there coming from Watson as well. Whitfield sitting at 4.3, maybe a little more reservation there from him. But the lowest watts per kilogram for sure, Lovehammer that we are looking at right now, 4.0. Elias there, 3.9. as well as we are seeing Sullivan there 4.5. Vegan Porsche is putting out a solid 5.1 so far too. Another one who's been instigating a lot and to be watching out for, as he is sitting in second place today. Now, are you seeing Dunn in the group is another question. Yeah, there is a Dunn.
He is there, and that was my next question, Nathan. Is I think Dunn's been sitting there pretty comfortable. Doesn't look like he's went with 2 moves. He's maybe followed a couple that he's had to, but it looks like he's conservative. What's his average watch now?
Yeah, his average so far has been, it looks like 4.4 watts per kilogram, actually. So not super high compared to some of these other boys. Enough to follow the moves, it looks like you said. He's got some solid results, 91 races out on Zwift. So this is one who's a little bit more experienced with the Zwift racing, not just jumping into it. He's been racing out on Zwift since it looks like forever. Let's see here real quick. I'm going to double check. It looks like all the way back in July of 2016 was his first race with the Kiss Down Unders and the Kiss AMs, actually. So he's been racing for almost a year to the date, actually, out on Zwift. Done. Very experienced racer, it looks like. And if I look through his results, he actually races throughout the week. Besides this, WBRs are a lot of his warm-ups, it looks like, for the races out on Zwift. It looks like he may have... Did he skip last week? No, I think he's done them all, it looks like. So, do you know Dunn in real life, Wes?
Yeah, I know Dunn in real life, yeah. So I catch up with most of the guys when I head out to the local club races to catch up with some of my clients. So yeah, I caught up with Dunn, and he's come from losing a good 10 kilos or more of weight as well. So he's wasn't always as fit as he used to be, and now he's really nailed it down and put the effort in. And you've seen that with the amount of racing he's done on Zwift. So he's really got the bug for it, and he uses these races also for the club races to prepare himself too for events that he's picked off in the calendar for actual real life races, the virtual ones. So it's pretty cool to see Dunn up there and having a Tasmanian, winning the series at the moment. So and I don't see anyone being able to put the post with the amount of points he's got up at the moment.
Yeah, he's definitely been super consistent. I'm looking through here. He took second place, it looks like, on the 27th. That would be last week's eCrit. We are seeing he also took a third place on the 20th. So all top fives I'm seeing pretty much throughout the series. So it looks like he's able to time those sprints really well. So definitely watching out for him for the finish today. It is starting to get whittled down little by little, but we still have, it looks like, 24 racers or so amongst the group here. Actually, maybe it's been whittled down a little bit more after those attacks from Dutton, and it looks like, I believe we did see it was Dutton as well as Little was off the front a little bit pushing. We do have it up toward the front now, taking the main of the headwind, though. It will be Vegan Porsche. Now, we do have an attack, though, going again. Sean Whitfield, the one we were talking about to be watching out for, 5 watts per kilogram. We did see him up and out of the saddle. Now, I'm not seeing a heart rate monitor, though, on Sean today. If he does not have ZADA approval, that might be an issue. We'll have to wait and see what KISS has to say about that today. But maybe did not read
Sean
rules.
did have some troubles there as well. He did troubles there the other week. It was reading extremely high. So
yeah, I was seeing there was like a 250 or something in there recorded as a max or something. So it was like something was wrong with it. So it might be just an issue that it's coming in and coming out. If he does have, I did see some heart rate from him already out there today. So I think KISS might reward him for the effort, at least, to put the heart rate monitor on rather than try and take something away from him. But we were seeing a little bit of heart rate earlier. So maybe there's just something going on. This is a threat node. Look at this, Wes. We're looking at 10 seconds now.
Yep.
Sean Whitfield, as well as Shaw and Dutton off the front. This is a threat, I think.
This is definitely a threat, and we'll have to see some reaction come from the WP Taz guys here. They cannot afford to let this one slip away.
Yeah, I don't think so. We are seeing 11 seconds now. V-Roy now the one at the front there, but look at the pace at the front, 3.4 watts per kilogram. We're seeing 28 miles per hour. When we match the paces, we are seeing 28 here. And now Physio, here we go, though. Watson now, knowing it's a threat, but does not want to bring the rest of them with. He wants to whittle down the group and definitely not bring 20 men with him to have to battle for that sprint. Dunn jumping right on with it there. It goes. Nadsy goes as well, 6.9 watts per kilogram. We're seeing 165 beats per minute. Kim Little, another threat definitely to watch out for in the sprint. Not a part of the series coming out of the UK, but now 8.9 watts per kilogram. Jumps immediately onto a wheel. It is a 2-second gap, and we're going to have to see a lot more riders make this same jump. I don't think this is a moment where you can just throw 4 or 5 at the front. I think a lot of people are tired, and it's going to come down to who's willing to throw into attacks to get back with these front boys. 3 seconds is the difference now, but it's all kinds of broken apart. It's completely nuclear now out on course here, as we are seeing 2 seconds up to Shaw. Still pulling away, 168, 397 watts. We're seeing up into that 6 watts per kilogram. This is that 2 to 3 minute effort that's really going to make things happen, and then they're going to settle in probably into a threshold to over threshold pace on the front while they sit in at around 4 watts per kilogram or so. Wes, I think this might be the breaking moment.
This is definitely it there. Like that caused the reaction there. We saw Watson goes off the front. The WP Taz guys, Nadsy and Dunn, follow him there. So they're really going to continue on with this, and now it looks like it's all going to come hopefully back together here, and then there's probably more fireworks after that. If anyone has anything left, they may try that haymaker and go again after this comes back together.
Yeah, I think the counterattack is really what's going to matter on the uphill here, right? I mean, there is that initial attack kind of to soften things up before they hit the climb, but as soon as they hit the climb, I think this is going to be the moment. Anyone who counters here is probably going to make the break that's going to whittle this down into that top 10 to 15 or so. Have we seen any, have you remembered throughout the crit series so far, Wes, whether or not there's been any break of a TT off the front? I mean, that's something you're probably not going to see of 1 or 2 riders getting away in these races, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, before coming in on the series, there was a couple of those situations happening with Troy Helfos, with one of his mates that was also racing, but he headed away to America to do some crit racing. So then Troy was on his own, but we did see from going back from what Jasper was filling me in on, that we did see a couple of those 2-man sort of time trials getting away, getting up and holding it. But since I've come in on the series, we haven't seen that yet so far. It's been, I think now the series that everyone's sort of been lifting a bit with this series on as well, lifting their form. So there is a lot of riders in there around that same sort of level. So that makes it really hard for anyone to get away, because everyone has that same interest of wanting to get in that break. So that sort of brings it back together. And also on these flat circuits like we see today, usually it comes down to a sprint.
Yeah, well, yeah, usually it will be just because of the flat situation here. I think you're right on there, but we do see that it has caused that break, as we were saying, with the group. It has been whittled down pretty well here. Now we do see Dutton here, 4.2, 172 beats per minute. The heart rates have not calmed, so I think the pace was extremely high there through that climb. Those counters there through the climb into Trafalgar Square really did break things apart, but it is a 4-second gap. We are seeing a couple of the favorites for the series here. Off the back, though, Vegan Porsche in a spot above the Gentleman Jim now, maybe with a little bit of dropout, or maybe just missed the position himself, has to kick it up 176 beats per minute. Everyone I'm looking at, though, when it comes to the heart rates, are either at threshold or over, it looks like here. 172, 189, 173. Usually that's right around threshold for most riders, at least. Jay Thorpe, maybe a rider who beats a little bit lower, maybe has a little extra in the tank, though. But 322 watts. Anybody who's hanging around these areas is going to be just sub-threshold tempo or over, most likely. We are seeing still 5 seconds, and it is kind of a race of seconds and meters at this point, because they're only going to have so much of this effort to throw down to bring things back together. It's only going to last for a few minutes or so before they have to calm it down either in the chase group or in the front group. Usually that's how things do play out. We are seeing maybe a little bit of respite now as they might take a little bit of wind out of the sails. Maybe some of the motivation is gone as they do see that that group is within 5 seconds now and unsure as to whether or not it is going to stick. Wonder if we're going to see a counter here, or we're going to see anybody try and get back up to this group, bridge on up, and try and push it forward at this point. What are the tactics going to play out? Sean, now 4.4. They are keeping it fairly consistent, and it looks like the gap is sitting right at that 5 seconds or so, but the heart rates are starting to drop. You can see they're resting up and waiting for that next moment of attack out on course. 6.5.
So we can see the New Zealand. You can see the New Zealand flag there. So Jones is the one who was featured up in the racing. He's from New Zealand. He actually did in one of the other races around the volcano circuit, but couldn't feature on the points. But he's certainly been up there and active and getting amongst this and using this racing here as obviously he's not on this series, but he's getting a good racing workout here. So Jones is actually quite a strong rider. Also got a little bit of an update from Aaron Dunn saying he's lost 35. Thanks very much. So he's lost a great deal of weight. So great job by Aaron Dunn. 35 kilos is taken off. So he's and with that 35 kilos come power. So he's really got that sprint. His power rate's right for these flat finishes, and he's up there at the point end of this race, and he's just stamping his authority on this series.
Yeah, we are seeing Dunn is absolutely, it seems like, unstoppable here. But speaking of being unstoppable, I'm not sure if this group is actually coming back. It was within that 5 seconds, but now at this point it's gone back out to 7. So as we were saying, it is that race of meters, that race of how long can the effort really be held, how much motivation is within the group, how many riders in the group that you're with have the effort, even have the ability to keep on pulling or the motivation to do so at this point. With 7 seconds off the front, Kim Little moving to the front just a moment ago. We did see him put out about 7 watts per kilogram as he saw the riders coming back to him. Now Jones, as you were saying, going right back to the front. They seem to be extremely motivated to keep this off the front and keep those boys from catching. Now we're seeing another counter and maybe getting out of sight and out of mind even from those chasers. Maybe the chasers will come back, but then at that point there's going to be a whole nother chase they have to be making. And now we are seeing it's going to be Shaw, Jones, Little trying to make this next break, and these boys here in and amongst that we're working Dunn right along with Watson might be on the edge and unable to even hang on to the next selection that might be made. And this seems to be the softening point out on course before they hit that climb into Trafalgar Square. It's an extremely tactical race now at this point, using each part of the sections. And now at 9 seconds, I'm not sure they're going to see this front end again. They might have to settle for the points that are going to be out to about that 10th to 20th place, or maybe a little bit less than that, maybe in that second group, unless they can use this climb. And we see a couple of feather or arrow power-ups that are used on the climb into the square here in just a moment. Now, real quick, Wes, what I thought was really interesting is that you said they're coming into form right now. So you're saying that because of this series, in winter in Australia, these boys are coming into their best form in order to win this series. Wes, does this completely change the face of cycling in some ways? Or is this, I mean, it does sound like the Australian crowd really just enjoys competition and will just jump into any kind of competition that they can to get the excitement.
Yeah, no, certainly are a competitive bunch down here in Australia. So yeah, like I said, they are coming into form. Some of these riders are riding themselves into form. NRS racing here, so the National Road Series racing, there has been a lot of races cancelled. So they're using these races to prepare for other events on the calendar. And when those other events haven't actually eventually, then stepping this up with this eCrit racing and really enjoying it, and the community that comes with it as well. I think that's what is really key to keeping those riders coming back. You know, having guys and you here commentating on it obviously gives that little bit of a spur on that edge. Getting those name call outs and getting right up in there amongst it makes it feel like it is a really legit race, and it certainly is with the power boys are putting out.
Yeah, for sure. As we're seeing this grind to get right back, it definitely, I think, feels legit right now for Porsche at 175 beats per minute, 308 watts or so. I know that's pretty high for him, and suffering for sure, trying to do everything he can. And there may be, actually, what I want to do right now is take a look at some of the riders here that are working their way through the field to try and grab some of these spots back. Porsche might be in a little bit of distress here about his series if they don't get back on to the front end of this race. We are seeing Shaw here, ISO Way Sports, it looks like, as well as Shaw Cycling, he is riding for. I'm going to take a quick little look and see if he's been working his way through this top end of the racers. I'm seeing that I'm not seeing Shaw actually in the results, but I know he has had a couple of good results recently. We were saying that he was just
so you won't see Shaw up there because he had to be finalised through for his Zwift power because he was up over those 5 watts. So
he was
I
killing
put him
it.
actually.
You're telling me he was just killing it.
He's
it might
killing
get updated.
It might get updated, yeah. I put him in touch with Glenn at a kid, so they're getting that sorted out for him. But so his points will come across eventually, but they're not quite there yet.
Gotcha. And so in case you guys are wondering what Wes is talking about, there is a Zada approval that has to go through. And since there is something on the line, there's qualifications going on here, and we're trying to make Zwift racing as close as possible to a very verified racing platform when it comes to the eCrit series. KISS and Zada have gotten together in order to verify off of strain gauge power meters that have a very, very accurate source of power. They submit a couple of tests to Zada from a strain gauge power meter, and then from there, Zada takes a look at it and compares it to the power curves that are being produced in Zwift on the mechanism that is being used inside of Zwift by the riders to communicate their power to the game. If there is a discrepancy in percentages, then they actually are very willing to work with the riders to make an adjustment actually on percentages of the power curve to maybe increase their weight or change some things so that they can actually be more accurate, or just say, hey, get a strain gauge power meter please, because that'll be more accurate. But if it's not accurate, there is a relegation then to the riders. If it is accurate, then they get a Zada badge approval. If it's shown, so I went ahead and submitted and gotten Zada approval. I went ahead and submitted my files. They were strain gauge power metered, and then they went ahead and gave me a little badge saying, yeah, all these power curves look exactly like what's being produced in game. They're good to go, and from there on out, you no longer have to worry unless there's something really, really crazy happens and people start flagging you again later on. So these are as far as those questions that do get raised a lot, this is a verified series that is being looked at closely by KISS and the Zada boys, just so everybody knows. All right, we are seeing up toward the front now. This group has 37 seconds. They're gone, I think, at this point, Wes. I don't think they're going to be seen again.
Yeah. No, it's over that 30-second mark. Yeah. And e-courses, if you're getting over that 15-second mark, it can be curtains. So it certainly will be very, very difficult for that to come back now. So I think we're going to see this go on and punch it out in between those. We've got about, 10 to 12 riders there, maybe less?
Yeah, it looks like we do have, I'm looking over at zwiftpower.com, and the last time they came through, it was 11 riders, and it did just update. They are on lap, they are 33K in, they're on lap 6 of their 7 so far. So we've got 2 laps to go, little under 2 laps to go or so. We are still seeing Shaw up in that 5.1 so far. Jay Thorpe there, 4.7. If these riders are all fairly even, as far as what they can do, the rider with the least effort so far would actually be your buddy Whitfield there, sitting at about 4.3 watts per kilogram for the duration of the race. Maybe playing things really smart. Does sound like he is a very experienced racer from what you were saying, and might be sitting in. It sounds like he might have a pretty good kick to the line as well. And if he saved up any power-ups, I think it might come down to that, though. What kind of randoms number games are being played out there as well, whether or not they get the luck to grab those power-ups and take them to the line and time them correctly. You are more familiar, though, Wes, with these riders than I am. Looking at this field right now, we do have Watson, Jones, Ockerby, Walker coming from Switzerland, Jay Thorpe, Shaw, Sean Whitfield, Dutton is in there, as well as Zawatsky and Kim Little. Dunn is there as well, the current series leader. Who do you think is going to grab this, or at least some of the favorites that might be in there that we could call out?
Yeah, definitely. Dunn's got to, obviously got to be the favourite, but also Paul had a really strong finish last week. But he has had probably, I'd say, definitely a harder race this week. So he might have used up a few of those biscuits early on. Sean Whitfield is the other dark horse. He's featured up there in that 4th place before, so he'd be pretty keen to try and slip into that top 3, or if not try and go for the outright win. But we will probably see some action from Watson, who'd probably be keen to try and get away and wouldn't want to come to a sprint finish with the likes of Dunn. So hopefully we'll see a little bit of fireworks there and get some people wanting sort of to get away over that last bit of a climb up to the finish there. But it's going to be a battle out for that sprint. And it'd be interesting to see whether we've got Ockerby to help Dunn also for that lead out. But Ockerby in his own right is quite quick himself. Does a lot of track work background as well, and has been training on the local velo around here. So he's getting a bit more speed in the legs now. And he could also, because Dunn's so clear out in front, Dunn may actually work for Ockerby, so to get him up on the points. So mate there for that last round and getting him up on the points to have teammates for that last round when they have the live one in the day before the World Championships in September the 19th.
Yeah, we are seeing, it looks like Ockerby in 7th, so he is just outside West, just outside of that top 5 spot. But I mean, we're only talking about 4 or 5 points actually for the 5th place there for Ockerby. So I have a feeling you're right there, that the WP Taz boys are definitely going to be working together. Zawatsky has also made it into this group, and he's also won, sitting in 6th place right now, just outside of that top 5. Anthony Porsche with 125 points. He is off the back in the 2nd group. I'm not sure that is going to affect him too much, as long as he's still able to finish somewhere within the top 15 or 20 or so. We are seeing off the front, Shaw did take a flyer there prior to this climb into the square, but it is going to be done there, closing it down right along with G. Watson. It's going to be 1 lap to go after this lap here, so there is definitely some jitters in the legs out on course. And I don't, isn't it funny in a virtual world how you get that same kind of butterflies in the stomach, like what's going to happen? You start kind of shaking out the legs, and it's the same exact feeling as you get in a road race situation.
Yeah, they try to get their legs in their garage or in their lounge room, wherever they're set up with their Zwift setup, and really getting themselves sorted and psyched as well. And they would have that butterfly feeling going, right, it's coming down to the nitty gritty. Last couple of laps, they would be doing that bit of a shakedown, relax the shoulders, get your breathing back in check, and get yourself ready for what's ready to come for these locked and loaded attacks. Because they're going to be we're going to see the likes of Jay Dutton is definitely the man who would probably try and attack. He wouldn't be confident to try and get up there with the mix of likes in this sort of sprint fast finish. And then also we have Jones, who's the New Zealander, has featured up there with some strong attacks in the past as well in the other races. So if someone like Jay and Jones got together, it could make for a really good chase, and to who starts to chase that down as well. If you get a bit of a gap, that 1 or 2 second gap, they're going to commit from there on. So then it'll come up to the likes of, maybe that the Wolfpack Taz boys may have to chase, so they might actually have to make sure they're on the front foot for these moves like that. And obviously Shaw will be very present. He has been this whole race actually, hovering around over that 5 watts a kilo, certainly not leaving any chance here. And like last week, we saw him really putting on the line. He was actually quite aggressive early on, sat back in, and then regained his and then finished it off for that sprint finish at 550 meters. He hit out very early and strong, long sprint by Pat last week. So he'll be up there again amongst it for this fast finish.
Yeah, definitely watching out for Shaw, I believe, for the finish there. I'm interested in Whitfield, though, for sure, as you were saying, watching out for whether or not he's able to better his results. We've seen better and better results each time, and a really interesting story to me a lot of times is the experience it takes to race Zwift, actually, that the getting used to how the drafts work, getting used to the timing of the sprints as well, and how they work out. They're almost more of what I would call the long haul sprints. They're a little bit more you can't wait for the last moment almost. It's kind of who kicks first and then who can hold on or at least have a second wind almost.
Yeah, because you don't want to be trying to sprint at 200 meters to go, because if you're leaving it to that late. Yeah, it is a longer drag race sprint, and I think that's what's probably catching a few of these guys off guard that aren't as experienced, guys like Whitfield, who are slowly those races notched up on the belt now. So he's starting to get that experience, and if he gets his timing right with the power up, that's the other thing. You can get the timing right of starting the sprint. You got to hit that power, have the correct power up. With that aero one, obviously, is the fastest power up one you can use for that sprint finish. So they're trying to get that timing right, trying to get those power ups right, and they'll realize that maybe they'll have to save these power ups. If you get that aero one early on in the race, try and save it if you can. And if you do have to use it up, then so be it. But I've got it there for the finish.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that part of the thing with this whole sprinting early too is that the kicks aren't quite as high on Zwift as in real life because you're on the trainer, and so you don't have as much dynamic movement, right? As well as the jump out from a slipstream might not be as powerful too. And so it's a different way of racing a little bit. And so you have this more extended how much I can hit up to and then just hold on for as long as you possibly can or grab that second win. So we'll have to see who's got that longer, maybe 15 to 30 second power maybe for these sprints today. So it does look like we do have a solid gap though still. I mean, they've lapped a few riders. We're on the final lap here, and we are seeing Kim Little here up toward the front, 25 miles in total, and they are, it looks like, according to ZwiftPower.com, that will be, real quick, I'll bring that up here, 39.2 kilometers. They're in the final lap now, 4.7 watts per kilogram coming from G. Watson total so far, and it is down to 11 riders. Sean was off the back by 1 second, actually, as they came through here, Sean Whitfield. So we do have the favorites there. It looks like we are going to have Ockerby right along with Dunn, all the WP Taz boys in Gamba kit, actually, the red and the white. Real quick question there for you, Wes. As far as the in Gamba kit, does that kind of match your in real life colors, or was there a reason for choosing the in Gamba?
Yeah, so Nadsy, who's the main instigator, sort of got us all on Zwift down here in Tassie. He approached them to see if we could get some custom jersey, the boys at Zwift, and they said, we're currently flat out doing that. But if you want a unique jersey, then here's it in Gamba code. People are using it, and that's how we sort of started with that, and we've sort of stuck with that now.
Nice,
but we wouldn't mind a custom kit. If we can get some Wolfpack custom kit, we'd get...
All right, that's a shout out for a Wolfpack Taz kit. There we go. Out to coming from Wes himself here in the broadcast. But we are seeing Dud there with a little kick. This is that softening point that we've talked about a lot here, Wes. Right before they hit the climb, maybe trying to just make sure that people's heart rates aren't too low so that maybe there can be an attack to try and get off the front, not leave this at a sprint, or at least bring it between a top three before they make it to the line. I'm not sure any of these boys are going to be falling off, though. A lot of times when you bring it down to about 10 or 11 riders like this, and they were all able to make every single move, and with the kind of course that we have, this crit racing course, usually they have the kick to follow right along with.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to get away, but they're still going to try those softening up the legs, just the testing to see. But yeah, with all these boys who have made this selective, that means they're all on that sort of even playing field to be able to chase each other and follow each other's moves. And there are still going to be those little haymaker attacks there just to try and catch Picard, but it is going to be very difficult to stay away unless you're with someone else who's got the exact same idea to go actually full out effort and attack. Because if you're not putting in that full effort and attack, then I can't see then these breaks trying to stick and go away.
Yeah, it would definitely have to be a full on, probably about 3 minute, everything you got, peak power effort, I think, at this point, was to get away from the group. It doesn't look like anybody's really willing to even go into the orange numbers at this point.
No, and if you do that effort, that's your race. You've fully committed to that effort. You probably will not have anything left for the sprint. That's where it comes down to rolling the dice, whether those people rather try and go for the win with a breakaway move, or maybe finish fifth or fourth on point. So it'll come down to a little bit of a numbers game of what those people, what their objectives are. And Jones has got nothing to lose here, obviously, because he's being New Zealand, go out and those moves. So that's where probably the riders should be keeping an eye on him. Maybe he'll be the one to try and get away here because he probably wouldn't want to come to the sprint finish with everyone, but he's got a strong rider, so he'd be probably one for someone else to leapfrog onto the back of and try and go away.
All right, we got 1K to go here now. It's going to come right down to it, I think, here with these 11 riders. I don't think we're going to see a breakaway at this point. Maybe a go, with a little bit of 1 second here or there. 7.7 or so coming from Thorpe. 178 beats per minute, though, already. He is at a fairly high ceiling now already with this effort. So at 7 watts per kilogram, I think he's just dragging the pace up, and the riders are going to be able to sit on at about 5 watts per kilogram. Nobody's letting this go at this point. It's essentially a lead-out train right now coming from Jay Thorpe, and we'll see if this actually pays off for him. I have a feeling we might see him off the back before the finish here as it comes into the last 800 meters or so. We do see Shaw now going. P. Shaw there, 10 watts per kilogram. There's the aero power up from way
well, there it
He's going
is.
from 500 meters.
Oh.
That's the move
This is
there.
what he
We
did
do
last
see
week,
1
Nathan.
second. Zawatsky, Ackerby, Jones. There's all the aero power-ups, so a few more do come. We are seeing
there they
again,
come.
though,
There
Shaw
they
going.
come.
So Watsky is there as well. Who's it going to be to the line, though? It looks like we do have 10 watts per kilogram still coming from Shaw, but it looks like Ackerby, that was the WP Taz
top.
boy grabbing 20 points for the win today
Whoa.
in the eCrit series. WP Taz takes a first and a third. And they jump up a little bit. There was in the series. It looks like Shaw was there for second. I think Kim Little came right around fifth. Jay Thorpe was in there, and actually paid off a little bit for him to do that lead out. It looks like in the top 5. We'll have to wait for
We
ZwipPower.com.
see Ockerby in that green jersey, which showed he's got the fastest sprint along there out of today as well. So he really lit it at the end. So that was. And did you see those power ups? They were all lit up. Everybody had them trying to get them down, timing down pat. Shaw went from a long out trying to catch them off guard again. They were all over it this time. They didn't let him get that initial jump. Everyone was ready to really react to it this time. So it was still a strong ride by Shaw, though. He only just got right towards the line there and done picking up those points as well, cementing his good lead on this series now.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're going to be really happy at WP Taz about how that ended up playing out for them in order to get 3 now into that top, into those top 3s or into the top 5 right now for the series. I'm going to move my way back just a little bit and make sure I don't click on my avatar. End up back at the pens. I just want to really quickly here, as these riders do make their way to the line, I don't think we're going to be able to see the sprint for the next group, but I will be able to bring it up here real quickly in ZwiftPower.com. We are seeing Whitfield actually taking an 11th there, so he will still make his way up a little bit into the series, but it isn't going to, it's going to be in 9 points or so he'll be able to grab. I don't have an update just yet for the rest of the top 20, but I definitely want to see where Vegan Porsche ended up finishing up here, along with a few gentlemen. Jim, you had mentioned him as well as somebody who's coming up amongst the group, as well as Sullivan there for WP Taz, one of your other riders, it looks like here, maybe also trying to make his way into 24 races out of Australia here. It does look like he did 19th last week, as well as I think that's the first race he actually did. So it looks like he's just jumping into the series. See if he's able to grab a few points and start working his way up to the top end of the racing. Looks like we were having a couple of people jumping in from the radio. Actually, you can actually listen to the broadcasts through radio here. Johnny Novlet was tuning in.
Oh, really?
At Community Live at Go Zwift. Kiss Road Race. eCrit makes the journey feel shorter. Go Oz. And he was actually cheering on for Nadsy there. Nadsy for the win is who he was looking for. So pretty cool bringing it in through the Bluetooth. People are now listening to us on the radio, Wes.
That's awesome. We're on the radio as well now.
Yeah. It's we got some pretty cool tech coming through, it looks like, here to bring that in. Still looking for the ZwipPower.com results. We do have them just coming in here. It looks like, Wes, we've got for 12th place, Boom Bike. He's not going to matter as far as the results go for the series, but nice job for 12th there. HDR showing up in force now, though, starting to make their ways in. Fast Aggie. Do you know who Fast Aggie is? Who's Fast Aggie? I'm not familiar with that rider. We're looking at Fast Aggie, Team HDR.
I didn't see them. Unless that's Tim Egg from Tassie. Another Tassie rider. Is he got the W? It's got the WP Taz on the name or not?
Oh no, he's got HDR. AHDR is who we're looking at. HDR. It looks like HDR is actually starting to get into some racing and has really formed a team now around some of the racing. We are seeing Fixie Joe getting in there as well.
Watson would have picked up some points there.
Who's that? One more time?
Sorry, Nathan. Watson some points there as well because he was up there last week.
Yeah, he took a 10th place, it looks like, so he will grab 10 points, actually. Greg Watson there, so solid ride for him. It looks like. But Vegan Porsche second place now with an 18th, though. Only 2 points. He keeps getting results like that. He might start to make his way down as we are seeing the WP Taz boys starting to make their way into that top 5. We'll have to wait for the update to the KISS series. I have a feeling maybe we'll get a bigger update to the results here in the next week or so. All right, so I think that's going to do it for our coverage today. We do have Ian Anderson. I think he does need to go live here in just a minute or two over at ZCL with his KISS Americas race. So he's probably going to be pushing out to us here in just a moment. So make sure to head on over to Zwift Community Live. Wes, I want to say thank you so much for all that you're doing with the eCrit, with you and Jesper. It's been absolutely amazing. Make sure you guys that you tweet out at Wes as well as myself and at Z Community Live. Your picks, we'll share them up. We'll get them out there. We'll get them to the next broadcast, as well as we'll make them a part of our highlight reels that we are putting together. Here's a quick little example of some of those things we're doing. We'll start adding your tweets to these things as well, as we do bring these highlight reels into a lot of our broadcasts. Next up for the rest of the week will be Ian Anderson, followed by Mrs. Coach is going to be coming up after Ian, actually, with Life in Cycling with Mrs. Coach. That's all this morning. And then after that, I will be doing KISS EU later this afternoon. We will have on Thursday as well with KISS Down Under for all you Australians out there and New Zealanders and all those on that side of the world in that time zone. I am also starting to cover KISS Down Under on Thursdays on Zwift Community Live. So make sure to follow either our Facebook at Zwift Community Live, which is linked right now in the Zwift Facebook post, or you can follow us on Mixer, Twitch, or YouTube, and you can get all of our broadcasts there as well. You can also see our full schedule over at ZwiftCommunityLive.com. All right, and if you want results for all the races, of course, ZwiftPower.com has the eCrit series as well as the results for each specific race. Coming up also today will be the West series. If you want to get into that and it's a better time zone for you, make sure to jump into the West series. Wes, again, thanks so much for tuning in, bud. And I think
no worries
you're
at all.
Back next week with Jesper.
Yeah, I'll be back next week. I'll be back next week. Thanks for coming on this week too, Nathan. It's great to have you on and come with me for the for this round. But yeah, we'll be going back to Jesper and me for next week, and we're working on getting me a green screen as well and some other things. So we were trying to up my broadcast, might be quite nice, but we'll see if we can get a bit of an update on that.
Yeah, for sure. We will definitely be working on that. I'm super excited for that for you, Wes, and I'm excited to see more broadcasting for you. So let's get that going. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and stay tuned over at ZCL for Ian with his Racer Focus stream. Cheers, everybody.